once the media makes up their mind, which they have, then whoever's on the other side of that is absolutely screwed. I mean, it's just ruthless. Days and weeks and months of just relentless attacks, time and time again. There's very few people that can survive these types of media attacks. Pierre Poilievre is actually one of them. He's been attacked constantly by the media since he became leader of the Conservative Party back in, 2022. But here he is, about to be Canada's next Prime Minister. And speaking of Prime Minister, they have already found a replacement for Justin Trudeau. That's how obvious it is that there will not be a Justin Trudeau as Prime Minister of Canada for very long. The possibility of us going the distance to an election in 2025 in October is becoming slimmer and slimmer. It just really feels like the media is starting to desensitize us for the fact that we're about to go in to a federal election before Christmas. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video, everybody. Before we get into it, I do want to encourage you all to smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't yet already. It does really help grow the channel. And just another reminder that it would really mean a lot if you guys signed the petition, shared the petition, which is linked down below in the description and the pinned comment below, or you can visit the website stopmutingthemic.ca. It's a anti-discrimination petition for, I'm sure you're already aware, I've been saying it quite a bit now, but it does need to be repetitive because not everyone catches every single video. The House Speaker is discriminating against Canadians, but specifically those who are visually impaired. And so he just shuts the microphones off by hitting a mute button. And my petition is for him to not be able to do that anymore. So going to stopmutingthemic.ca will bring you to this website. You can click right here at the top right. It says sign now, or scroll into the middle where it says sign the petition here, or anywhere at the bottom as well. There's also a section of the website, Tell Your MP, which has, for your convenience, a already written letter. You just have to fill in your MP's name, your name, and you can take any of these points possible and then sign your name at the bottom, copy paste that into your email if you would like, and then send that off to your local MPs so that we can get more attention onto this petition, which has already passed, if I'm not mistaken, over 4,000 signatures. Hey, the more the better. But nonetheless, let's get into this video. So what we need to talk about is this Liberal MP, Sean Casey, who went into the days leading up to the recent caucus meeting. He was one of the guys that was basically coming out just guns blazing, going, "Hey, Trudeau needs to step down. He needs to step down. He needs to resign. We can't have him as Prime Minister." And when he comes out of the Liberal cabinet meeting, Liberal caucus meeting, it's like he's been brainwashed. I mean, the difference, the contrast, the comparison is so obvious that it's like, hey, whoa, did he show us on the doll, right? Show us on the doll where Trudeau hurt you type of thing. Like, that's just how crazy it is. And it's all up here. A mental abuser. That's what Justin Trudeau is.
No, I don't. But I don't think that he felt that he needed to reflect at all. I think his mind was made up.
What do you make of that?
Disappointing.
So what does this mean for you next?
Well, what it means for me is that this is a decision that he had every right to make, and he made it. I did my job by voicing what I was hearing from my constituents. Now I've got to take my energy and direct them to winning my seat, and not on internal party matters. As far as I'm concerned, it's closed.
Do you think, though, the Prime Minister listened to what he was told yesterday?
Yes, I know he did. I was in the room. Yes.
So how do
Yes, he absolutely did.
So if he listened, how does it 18 hours later he still declares he's staying? How do you square that?
He listened, but he wasn't swayed. There's he felt very strongly. Our views weren't the only ones, and like I say, it was a decision that he had the right to make. I don't think that having this feeding frenzy for another 2 or 3 days would have helped anyone if his mind was made up anyway. So, that's that. It is what it is. It's time. Well, me personally, I'm moving on.
What happens
There's
next?
been there's so much energy burned on all of this, and that isn't where it needs to be now that this case is clearly closed.
What happens?
Wow, that's all I have to say about that is, wow, Justin Trudeau is brainwashing his own MPs. I mean, for crying out loud, he was one of the founding fathers of this rebel alliance within the Liberal cabinet, and now he's going, hey, look, everything's closed and we're moving on, and I don't want to talk about Trudeau anymore. Like, dude, it's okay. You can tell us if he's mentally abused you. We are sorry that he's done that. Also, we're sorry that you're a Liberal MP, but come forward, tell us the truth, and let's move on with things, right? Let's take some disciplinary action against the Prime Minister, who's really gagged his own caucus, which is not okay. Every member of Parliament, even if they are Liberals, should be able to speak their mind freely, especially if it's against if they have a lack of confidence in their own leadership. Right? In this case, it's against Justin Trudeau. And the fact that he's mentally abused his own caucus is extremely, extremely concerning. Now let's take a look at something that, was said yesterday in question period in terms of shattering the system, right? That's what Justin Trudeau has done.
Now admits he destroyed Canada's immigration system and the 150-year immigration consensus. He can't fix what he broke. He can't fix immigration. He can't fix housing or anything else right now because he's fighting his own caucus. So instead of blaming everyone else, including immigrants like myself, will he just admit that he shattered the immigration system and caused lasting damage to Canada's housing market, healthcare, and jobs?
The Honourable Minister for Immigration, Citizenship and Refugees.
Thank you, Mr. President. Look, I was flabbergasted to hear the Leader of the Opposition's answer today, the most immature answer on immigration that I've ever heard. He's late to the game. He's so late to the game on this, he hasn't even come up with a slogan yet. So when he comes up with a slogan, perhaps we'll take the chance to respond. But what we propose is a plan for controlled migration. We're proud of it. It serves Canadians well.
The Honourable Member from Calgary-Shepherd.
Thank you, Speaker. It's rich coming from that particular minister who called 24 Liberal MPs garbage because they're looking after their own careers and worried they're not going to make it. They're not going to be here after the next election because their own constituents are going to send them to the unemployment line. Now, this Prime Minister is reckless, and he even said it himself. He didn't get it right. He said it during his own press conference. He didn't get it right on immigration. He didn't get it right on housing. He can't get it right on the carbon tax. So will the Prime Minister just admit that his flip-flop has destroyed the immigration system and accept his own personal failure?
There you go.
Minister for Immigration, Refugees and
What I said,
Citizenship.
Mr. Speaker, is that it's garbage to focus on anything other than the circus clown that he's supporting.
And then he got in trouble. I'm surprised Global News took that part out. You cannot call people names in Parliament. I mean, for crying out loud, Pierre Poilievre he got kicked out. He got kicked out of Parliament for calling Justin Trudeau a wacko, which is a sticker right here, which is available for purchase. Link down below in the description if you would like one. But nonetheless, he had to apologize. So what that discussion was about the recent immigration announcement, right? That happened yesterday. So Justin Trudeau, which we're going to take a look at here in a moment, did a breaking news announcement about immigration, how they're cutting back. And then later in the day, Pierre Poilievre got to the microphones, right, with a nice fall autumn day. And the leaves were there, and Pierre said, hey, look, Justin Trudeau has broken the system. I mean, he promises things and then he retracts on them and he just can't trust them. So let's take a look, because I haven't actually done this on video yet. Let's take a look at this breaking news announcement that Justin Trudeau did yesterday for those that have missed it.
Minister Miller will be detailing our immigration plan. Before he does, I want to say a few things. Canadians are justifiably proud of our immigration system. It has made our economy the envy of the world. It's how we've built strong, diverse communities. It's how we've demonstrated that differences can and must be a source of strength, not a source of weakness for communities and society. Immigration is vital to our future. And as a federal government, we have to make sure that that pride, that faith in immigration is not undermined. We've been through a hard time these past few years. COVID stopped everything. When we started to emerge from it, workers were in short supply, things we needed weren't going to market, and prices started going up. So we acted. We made sure that our businesses had workers. Our economy got moving again. We actually experienced the fastest jobs recovery after the pandemic in the G7. Now, it is time to make the adjustments to stabilize the immigration system that we need and get it working right for Canadians for right now. Today, we're announcing that we will reduce the number of immigrants we bring in over the next 3 years, which will result in a pause in the population growth over the next 2 years.
Look, I don't think Canadians inherently have a problem with immigration, right? Canada's immigration system was like a phenomenal one not too long ago, but Justin Trudeau broke it by trying to flood the gates to farm voters. We don't really know, but nonetheless, targeted immigration is something that Canada has been, prided themselves on. And you look at any graph and you see the numbers, they skyrocket. They go woo, way up when Justin Trudeau took office, but more importantly, over the past few years, to be very exact. And it's gotten out of control. Right, like we have a housing shortage here in Canada. Like we got a lot of crises that we need to focus on, and bringing in more people, growing our population at the rate that it's been going at, it's just not sustainable. It doesn't make any sense. And then you got these weirdos here. Justin Trudeau has said, with all these new initiatives by the year 2100, he wants to make Canada have 100 million people. That is not that far away. We're 64, 65, 66 years away from, oh God, that's a bad number. 76? I don't know. We're like not that far away, right? From reaching the year 2100 and growing our population to 100 million. It just seems crazy to do that, but that's my opinion. I would love to know yours. And let's continue this press conference here.
This builds on our previously announced measures to cap international student permits and reform the temporary foreign worker program, all of which we are implementing with a single aim: stabilize our population growth to give all levels of government time to catch up, time to make the necessary investments in healthcare, in housing, in social services to accommodate more people in the future. Our immigration system has always been responsible, and it has always been flexible. And so we are acting today. Because in the tumultuous times as we emerged from the pandemic, between addressing labor needs and maintaining population growth, we didn't get the balance quite right. With the plan we're announcing today, along with previously announced measures, we're making our immigration system work better and do their part too. Far too many corporations have chosen to abuse our temporary measures, exploiting foreign workers while refusing to hire Canadians for a fair wage. All while, under the watch of provinces, some colleges and universities are bringing in more international students than communities can accommodate, treating them as an expendable means to line their own pockets. That's unacceptable, and it needs to change.
And yeah, sure, some corporations have absolutely exploited this. But again, I mean, it's your fault. It's your mistake. All you have to do is say, look, we absolutely messed up and it's taken a long time to fix. And I want to apologize to everybody. But again, he's projecting the blame onto corporations for taking advantage of a loophole. Yeah, I don't agree that freaking Tim Hortons has done what they've done. They've gone and hired pretty much exclusively foreign workers instead of, Canadians. Like, that is not okay. And everyone has seen the repercussions of that. But Justin Trudeau is like blaming the fact that corporations have abused it. And that's why it's a disaster right now, because corporations have abused it. Dude, it's a disaster because you made it so easy for this to happen and all these loopholes. You knew exactly what you were doing, and now you're going, oh man, well, I guess I'm going to pass the blame off to the next person. Come on, dude.
Businesses should no longer rely on cheap foreign labor. My message to them is that there is no better time to hire and invest in Canadian workers. Our international student cap is dealing with exploitative colleges and universities, but all institutions need to take it upon themselves to be more responsible. And every step of the way, we need provinces and territories to work closely with us, too.
Quebec
is essential for Canada's future, but it must be controlled and it must be sustainable. With today's annual immigration plan, that is precisely what we're doing. Thank you all for being here this morning. Merci. Je passe maintenant la parole au ministre.
I'll pass the floor to Minister Miller.
Like, Justin Trudeau has had an opportunity to fix this, to address this for a very long time. And if you were against this mass immigration flood that we have seen, again, not only Liberal supporters, but Liberal MPs, and specifically Justin Trudeau, would call you a racist. And here he is, quite literally, months, a series of weeks, quite a few days put together later is the difference between Justin Trudeau calling you a racist and Justin Trudeau doing the exact same thing that those racists would be. So is Justin Trudeau a racist or not? Like, this is insane. It's insane behavior by any world leader.
Merci, Monsieur le Premier Ministre. Bonjour tout le monde. Hi, everyone.
Good morning, everyone.
Glad to be here with you in Ottawa on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. I want to develop a little on what the Prime Minister just said. Indeed, immigration is indispensable, has been indispensable to the creation and the identity of this country, indispensable to its future. As mentioned in our recent history, it was key to increasing our gross domestic product, net entrance into the workforce, particularly coming out of COVID. Even going into COVID, we had labor shortages, provinces clamoring for immigration measures to bring in more people, and we acted swiftly. Thanks to that, as the IMF has noted, we prevented a recession, and I think that's important to realize when we look at some of the measures today to stabilize the immigration system.
Back to these
when it comes
changes.
To permanent immigration targets, this plan is probably the first of its kind insofar as it integrates and responds to a lot of criticisms that we've received in the past. This plan that we table as a statutory matter on November 1st only talks about permanent residency. This plan this year gives a better snapshot for people to look at total population growth and the growth of temporary residents, as well as the measures that we're putting into place to reduce those populations over the next few years. When it comes to Canada's permanent immigration targets and aligning them to our economic needs, I'm here to announce and confirm that the current plan reduces next year's projections from 500,000 permanent residents to 395,000, a net reduction of 105,000 permanent residents immediately in 2025. After that, in 2026, a progression down to 380 to stabilize the numbers at 365 in 2027. The lower permanent resident targets, as well as the temporary resident targets that I will speak to in some length in the next few minutes, will have and are expected to impact the housing supply gap by about 670,000 units by the end of 2027. That means that we will not have to build an additional 670,000 housing units by that time. This is significant. Again, some structural aspects to this plan as well is the need to focus on people that are already here. It means that consistent with our plan, over 40% of permanent residents will come from the temporary residents that are already in Canada. These people are a young labor pool, they're skilled, they're here, they've begun their process of integration, and it doesn't place the additional demands on the housing, healthcare, and social services that we see with someone that comes directly from another country. It makes sense. We have a large pool. There are ways to integrate that highly talented pool into the permanent residency population. Adjustments will be made to our economic immigration streams to prioritize that transition of workers already here and focus on the labor and be responsive to the labor market needs. But for that, we need provinces to move forward and come forward with their data and tell us their needs. The federal government has an understanding of what those needs are. It is a sophisticated one, but it isn't the only voice in this, and provinces have a responsibility to come to us and tell us what those needs are.
We're doing a few
As
years
I mentioned
ago.
a little earlier, for the first time, the immigration levels plan includes targets for temporary residents, such as international students, temporary foreign workers, the postgraduate work permits that comprise that. In the temporary resident space, over 50% of that is occupied by international students and postgraduate work permits. So the measures that we instituted a little less than a year ago are ones that are important to highlight the success of. We have seen, thanks to those measures, a reduction of about 43% in the number of new study permits accorded, and that's working. Studies are showing quite consistently that that is contributing to the lowering of the rent, notably in Vancouver, Surrey, as well as Toronto, close to 8 to 10%. And this is something which is a clear proof point, and in fact encourages us to take the measures that we are taking today with respect to permanent residency. The caps that we put in place are not measures that...
that pause makes me feel like he's being forced by Justin Trudeau to read the script. I'm just getting kind of hostage vibes from this. That's all I'm trying to say.
We took lightly, nor are the measures taken today ones that we're taking lightly without reflection. We are an open country, but not everyone can come to this country. Permanent residency is something that we hold dear. It has a value, as does Canadian citizenship. We've been a very generous country and will continue to do so. The numbers that we announced today roughly take us to back to a very ambitious plan that was put forward in about 2020. It reflects the fact that we have and we will continue to listen to Canadians. That's something that's important because the people standing behind me today are people that have been speaking to their constituents, have been speaking to economists, have been speaking to universities and institutions, and listening to their own families. And they've said consistently that while we are still and continue to be an open country, that volume that we have put forward is something that is of concern. And indeed, the latest Environics poll says as much. There are limits to governing by poll, and this is something that took some reflection over the last year. When I spoke to economists, they said clearly that their range of permanent residency needed to be reduced, but there wasn't unanimity as to what it was. It was about 350 to 450,000 for next year. This is somewhere in the middle, and I think it respects a responsible plan to grow immigration. Well, the net effect is a pause on the population growth. It is something that shows that we're listening to Canadian, shows that we have a controlled immigration plan that we can be proud of. One final point that I think is really important for the number crunchers out there, and I know there are indeed a few, the temporary measures that we have taken, including the ones that Minister Boissonnault has announced, are expected to result in a reduction of Canada's temporary resident population of 445,000 in 2025, an additional 445,000 in 2026, and perhaps a modest increase of 17 in 2027. Those are the numbers that we are factoring in as we look at the impact on the need to build housing units, but also the ones we look at when we look at the overall mix and the plan to reduce the temporary resident population from 7 to 5%. One final note on regularization, and I know this was an important mandate of our government. It has become quite clear over the last year that there is no consensus on a mass regularization program, despite the fact that people in Canada continue to be Canadian, except for everything but in name. When looking at this regularization program, we looked at the impact that this could have on deploying it in a short period of time and making sure that it is a success that makes sense and is fair for everyone. It doesn't mean we've left these people behind. We are prepared to institute a smaller program in number to make sure that we are targeting important aspects of the economy, whether it's construction or healthcare, to regularize some folks that, again, should be Canadian by right and aren't today. Those are measures that will continue, but in a much smaller amount than perhaps the mandate letter that I carry suggested. And that is something that we will continue to work on and continue to work with Canadians and the implicated organizations. We have a lot of challenges in this area. The consensus is one that was hard fought. It's something that we have to continue fighting for, and we will continue fighting for it. But today, with this plan, we're proposing a managed migration plan that puts control in the federal government over the numbers of people coming to this country and will contribute to a positive future for all Canadians, and one where we can serve both immigrants and Canadians better.
Why does it feel like that is a hostage video? I don't know, man. I feel like he's being forced by Justin Trudeau to completely flip the script. This goes against everything that they've stood for, which is crazy, because if you don't stand for anything, you will fall for everything. And now to talk about who Justin Trudeau's replacement is. On CTV Power Play, you have, let me just make sure that they get my copy paste here to go sign the petition. All right, now that that's done, I'm going to like my own comment because I'm weird. CTV Power Play says, I have never said from the minute I left politics that I was going to close the door on politics forever. Will former BC Premier Christy Clark run to replace Prime Minister Justin Trudeau should he step down? Like, they are already trying to pick who his replacement is going to be. This is just a couple of minutes, so bear with me. Let's take a look at this.
I don't think anyone on this panel is going to be surprised that I have to start with Christy, who gave me a bit of a heart attack a few days ago at the prospect of losing a front bench panelist. I'm going to start straight up and direct with you, Christy. What's going on? Are you potentially throwing your hat in the ring if Mr. Trudeau were to step aside?
Well, I can tell you, Vashi, that I got a lot of emails from a lot of people saying, hey, we love you with Vashi on CTV, don't go. Just like from across the country. It's really been quite amazing. Here's my view on it. The Prime Minister has decided he wants to stay. He's going to stay. He's going to run in the next election. And I have never said from the minute I left politics that I was going to close the door on politics forever. But there's no job open. And I've been there, Vashi, and in a caucus where we had a lot of vigorous discussions. And I can tell you the caucus that I led was a coalition of people from all different parts of the province and hugely different views. This is sometimes what happens inside the room. It's, and so I think the problem we have, and Mark Miller put this quite well, I think, with you a few minutes ago, which is all of the machinations that are, that have seized the media's attention in the room have really drawn attention away from the things that Canadians are thinking about, which is, can my kid ever afford to own a home? Can I get a bigger pay? How do I get a bigger paycheck? What do we do about jobs? What about the standard of living? Those are the things that we need to be focused on, that I need to be focused on, and all Liberals, I think, need to be focused on. Because if we don't, Pierre Poilievre will become the Prime Minister, a man who has never run anything in his life.
Perfect.
His policy book appears to consist of 3 slogans he repeats nonstop. And I think that kind of
axe attacks, fix the budget, stop the crime, and make this country great. There you go. Perfect.
That division and divisiveness is terrible for our country. So
Pierre is divisive.
Let's get focused and let's get to work.
According to these people, yep, that makes sense.
I'm going to respond in a second. I'm just going to ask you one follow-up. Do you think, Christy, that Justin Trudeau should stay as leader, or do you think he should go?
I think he has the right to stay. His caucus has so far, and we saw this today, maintained confidence in him. The party maintains confidence in him. And he's the leader of the party. He says he's going to run. And Liberals across the country need to support him in doing that. Otherwise, keep your eyes on the prize, folks. We can end up with a Pierre Poilievre government. And he would take, in 4 years, he could do a lot to change this country in ways that we could never get back.
Yeah, I don't know. Justin Trudeau, the arguments for Justin Trudeau to remain as Prime Minister, I'm going to fix all these things. Bro, you've had 9 years. You've had 9 years to do your job, and look where we are. Not so good. Literally could not get worse under Pierre Poilievre. And personally, I'm willing to take the gamble and say, you know what? Let's elect a majority Conservative government and see what we can actually get done. But that is my opinion, and I would love to know yours. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of the video. If you haven't yet already, I'd like to encourage you guys to sign the petition. Sign the petition, link down below in the description, the pinned comment below, and let everybody know. Spam the links everywhere on social media, email your friends, text your friends, send it on Messenger, post it on Facebook groups. We need to stop Greg Fergus, the House Speaker, from muting the microphone ever again. And also like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys later today. Bye for now.